Episcopal address will be the order of the day. And so I think this way, from my understanding of just what we need to do, we need to set the rules of the conference so that we can proceed with the rest of the work on schedule. All right? Are you willing to do that? Are you willing to proceed with taking care of the rules and adjusting the agenda accordingly? If so, will you say yes? If not, say no. All right, I heard no no's. So Mr. Pacheco will guide us through the whole report. You might have to turn that on. It doesn't sound like it's on. Look at, there you go. Okay.
The basic duties of the committee as is spelled out in the CPORO, in the board, in the plan of organization and rules of order are to constitute the administrative committees except the Committee on Program and Reception and the Committee on Reference, to compile the membership of the various legislative committees pursuant to the process is spelled out in the plan of organization and rules of order. It starts from the choice form to the ascertainment by the head of the delegation and to transmittal to the committee. And 3, to act on petitions for amendments and or initiate amendments to the plan. Accordingly, we went on to perform the task of compiling a handbook for this use of this conference. We also went on to perform the task of constituting the administrative committees, aside from those that have to be constituted by the College of Bishops. And we went on to compile the list of members of the legislative committees as now printed in the handbook. We also went on to do the task of asking ourselves the question, what are the needs in the sessions of the Central Conference that are of paramount and transcendental importance, and of which we as a committee must address? In the deliberations of the committee, the following stand out as the major concerns that must be addressed with a sense of urgency. 1, the need to elect all the bishops at the soonest possible time and with the least number of balloting. There is a widespread clamor for this. Second, the need to approve a quadrennial plan for the entire Central Conference. And third, the need to come up with an updated and revised plan of organization and rules of order. Guided by these recognized needs, the committee worked and prepared a revised plan of organization and rules of order, which is now attached to your kit. The rationale. Why do we need to revise the entire plan of organization and rules of order? The present plan has long provisions which are not too convenient to locate and to cite. There are many processes that have been practiced in the sessions of the Central Conference, yet they are not still spelled out in the plan. There is much to be desired, third, in the way the structure of provisions was crafted. Fourth, we have to come up with provision that would ensure a speedy election of our episcopal officers. And fifth, we also need to come up with provisions that ensures the enactment of a measure that spells out the program thrust of the next quadrennium and the strategies and guidelines to be followed. We said that the Central Conference is not a mere electoral body. We are first and foremost a legislative and programmatic body. And so we went on to adopt two sorts of amendments. The first amendment is a matter of form and style. The second was a set of substantive amendments. Maybe for this time, friends, the modality of presenting these amendments may be unconventional insofar as previous practice is concerned. But it is something that we thought we needed to do now and must address urgently and in a most responsible manner. So, for our first report, we submit to you the following recommendations. First is for this session to adopt and approve the 2012 handbook as printed, which includes the program and agenda of the Central Conference and the membership of the various administrative and legislative committees. This was approved by the CPORO and BAM yesterday. And the second recommendation is to adopt an omnibus motion and an omnibus action approving the entire revised plan of organization and rules of order with the introduced 10 amendments. Which is attached to this report. If it is in order, Madam Chair, we can now proceed to discuss the revised plan of organization immediately.
Please proceed.
Friends, the revised plan of organization starts with part 1. We said that the Central Conference process has pre-conference activities, it has activities during the conference proper, and it has activities immediately the day after the conference proper has occurred. So part 1 will discuss with pre-conference activities. The preliminary provisions, section 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 are mere reiteration of the existing provisions in the Book of Discipline. And of course, by virtue of the enabling act of the General Conference constituting a central conference for the Philippines. So if there are no questions here, we will now proceed with Article 2, which are the preparatory work for the regular session. There are four committees, actually 5 committees, that have to work for the preparation of the regular session. First committee is the Committee on Plan, Organization and Rules of Order. You know this very well. Second is the Committee on Program and Reception. Third is the Committee on Reference, which under these rules, we are now changing as Committee on Petitions. Fourth is the Committee on the Preparation of the Quadrennial Plan and Budget in tandem with the Council on Finance and Administration. And fifth is the Committee on Elections, which is a subcommittee of the Committee on Episcopacy. Section 2 deals with the organization, letter A. Section 2 deals with the organization of the Committee on Plan of Organization and Rules of Order. Section 3, the duties of the CPORO. And Section 4, the Executive Committee of the CPORO. Because of costs and an attempt to be more frugal in our expenditures, the committee the CPORO, or any of the committees, cannot be meeting as en banc all the time. And therefore, there has to be an executive committee that does the work without prejudice to submit what has been acted upon by the executive committee for the approval of the committee and bank. We have also the Committee on Program and Reception. These are usual, these are the old provisions. We just realign them. The Committee on Petitions. In the Committee on Petitions, we define who has the standing to file a petition. Section 11. It must be sponsored and filed by a professing and bona fide lay member, if he is a lay, or a clergy in good standing, or a council, board, committee, or agency within the connectional structure of the United Methodist Church. A duly recognized lay national organization. In short, what we are saying here is no stranger can come in and file a petition for amendment or a memorial or resolution within the Committee on Petitions and Reference. And then we set the deadline. We also provided for an executive committee like that in the CPORO. And then the third committee is the committee that shall prepare the Committee on the Preparation for an Integrated Quadrennial Plan and Budget. This is, of course, an offshoot of our desire that upon adjournment we have a program, a guideline that in a way defines the roadmap from this central conference up to the next central conference. The committee that shall be composed of 12 and to be constituted by the College of Bishops shall be convened by And this is where the First Amendment, Second Amendment comes in. The convener in Section 14, there should be an added proviso there that the Central Conference lay leader shall be a member of the committee and the convener during its organizational. Anyway. Do you hear me? Second, the duty of the preparation of the quadrennial plan is to assist the bishop, in convening an interagency summit and planning workshop not later than 180 days before the regular session.
Followers natin sa Tuesday.
10. 10. Kanina mas madami. Wala pa. Wala pa siya.
Dapat i-announce.
Password ka.
Awan, naka-internal eh.
Ito lang. Pa-zoom out lang ng konti.
At and report to the session. In that case, we save time.
Kailan mo kailangan dito?
Let's
Gladys.
Kahit maya ako. Sa live streaming.
Before. Eh, wala akong battery.
at least the
Pag nagka-kuryente.
next. These are all provisions.
Transfer ko na.
The sitting of delegates, the arriving after roll call,
So, pwede na.
reserve delegates. These are all provisions. In the Episcopal address and the laity address,
Dapat may inverter tayo dito.
we now mention
1,000 watts.
the third address, which is the youth address,
Battery sa kotse.
which shall be delivered
Battery dyan.
by a youth or a young adult in any of the sessions subsequent to the presentation of the laity address. As to who between the youth and the young adult shall deliver will be a matter that will be internal to them.
Huwag mo lang lagyan ng sabi na 2,000 watts.
Of course, the provision on the referral of the addresses are all provisions. Let us now come to the most substantive part of the amendment, Episcopal election.
Online voting.
The priority of Episcopal election is an old provision. We will not discuss that anymore. The presiding officer, it shall be the visiting bishop. We shall not discuss that anymore. Section 3, we have an amendment to what is printed. Section 3, eligibility for election. An elder in good standing in any of the annual conferences was being ordained to that order for at least 10 years instead of 4. Preceding an Episcopal election and has not yet reached the age of 64 shall be eligible for Episcopal election. Section 4, this is very new. Very, very new. Endorsement or nomination by the annual conference. An eligible elder who is interested to serve in the Episcopal office shall secure the endorsement and or nomination of an annual conference, preferably the annual conference of which he is a member. He or she. Hindi ba he always embraces she? Oh, I'm sorry. I stand, apologies accepted. Offered. Apologies offered. The endorsement and or nomination shall be that the annual conference recommending or endorsing has found eligible clergy to possess the moral fitness, the educational preparation, and the maturity and aptitude to serve as a servant leader in the Episcopal office. And by virtue of that endorsement has declared its complete support for such bid for elections. There is an offered amendment in the committee yesterday, and the amendment is provided that the annual conference shall nominate only one candidate. It cannot nominate 2 or more. Now, the background of this, friends, is it appears that in the previous way we have conducted our elections, there is really no specified screening of the candidate. But if a candidate candidate who desires to pursue the episcopal office goes back to his conference, then the conference will have to pass upon his qualification before the conference will endorse him. So we now have instituted a system of screening. There are those who have said that it is our right to run for the episcopal office. Being a clergy, it is our right. So we have a colatilia, which is section 5. In case he has sought the endorsement of his annual conference and failed, and he is still convinced that his conversations with the Lord is to the effect that he should pursue the pig, then he must do one thing. He must execute a declaration of availability and submit this to the Committee on Elections. There is a deadline for this. This is in section 6, which must be 120 days before the regular session of the Central Conference. The endorsements by the conferences or the declaration of availability must be received by the Committee on Elections not later than
Deadlock yung mga qualified.
120 days before the regular